Oh, it's been a busy couple of weeks. So we'll start off with the bad news. Straight away. So we'll start off with the bad news. Now, just for the record, all the SG Animal residents are absolutely fine. We haven't lost anyone. We're absolutely okay. I know the thumbnail might be a bit concerning. It's none of the SG Animal residents. They're alright. So the other day, I was at work and I was just working outside doing the normal. Then one of my co-workers from indoors came running out saying, "Sean, we need you. We found a seagull in the car park." Now, I don't have tons of experience with birds. As you may have seen though, I have previously raised a pigeon. It's not the first time I've raised a pigeon. I've raised a couple of pigeons, but as far as my bird experience goes, that's pretty much it. I've never kept any birds. I've not handled a whole load or anything. I did rescue a canary once, but he was fully healthy. The pigeons were also fully healthy, so there wasn't too much to learn, but more that it was a limited exposure. But anyway, so the seagull was found in the car park. It was an incredibly rainy, windy day, and he was just sitting in a puddle, wasn't really doing anything. So they picked him up, brought him underneath the canopy just to keep him safe, so no cars ran him over, no one, trying to hit him or anything. Just to get him out of the way and keep him out of harm's way for the time being. So I went outside to the canopy, had a little look at him. When I initially saw him, his wings were completely splayed out and his neck was literally flat over, so his beak was facing his tail. So initially we thought he's probably been hit by a car or something. So the first thing I did, I checked for any broken bones, any bleeding or anything. It's absolutely fine. Like, wings pulled out, he was fine. After I picked him up, he started moving his head. It wasn't what I wanted to see though, because what he was doing is basically rolling back like that, and he wasn't actually responding to anything I did. He wasn't receptive towards me. So he wasn't doing that to try and get me. It was more just like he was incredibly dizzy and had no control. And as far as I moved my hands and everything, his eyes didn't track me or anything. He didn't try biting me. There was no reaction. So I picked him up, wrapped him up in my hoodie, took him indoors to get him out of the rain and the cold. We went and sat down indoors, away from the customers. Just obviously give him some peace and quiet, make sure he's nice and safe, and try and warm him up, see what's going to happen. Because a lot of the time when birds hit things like windows and have collisions with cars, they can get like a mini concussion. So it's not necessarily fatal or anything that needs attention. It's more just they need a bit of time to calm down. I suppose kind of reset themselves and kind of calibrate again. They need that time to just take a breather and get back on their feet. Then while we were in the break room, he stopped with the head rolling. He tried flapping his wings a couple of times, and he started holding his head upright. So that was giving me a lot of hope. That was exactly what I wanted to see. It had only been 5-10 minutes maybe. That being said, we don't know how long he was in the car park for. So while we were waiting there, and while I was observing him, seeing how he's reacting and if he's coming around at all, I started calling a few local vets. Now it took a few calls because a lot of them didn't deal with like wildlife, or they didn't have a bird specialist in and things like that. So I kept being referred to other places. So sadly I didn't get the response as soon as I wanted, because I initially wanted to go to the break room and straight away get someone on the phone so I know what to do, where to go. But it took about maybe 10 minutes to track someone down, and within another 5 minutes I then had a taxi outside waiting for me. So we went out, got in the taxi. He was still the same, holding his head up. He wasn't exactly moving much. He flapped his wings maybe once or twice throughout the car ride. It was only 15-20 minute journey. So I was feeling quite hopeful. It looks like he was improving and was starting to come together. But when we got to the vets, by the time I'd got to the door, his head was just limp. He was just I don't know, I think he had his second wind and it wasn't quite enough, so he tried, but he didn't make it. So the vets obviously saw him in that state. They came to the conclusion he's probably been hit by a car, because, well, he could have flown into a building, but they determined the severity of the damage was likely a vehicle collision, and he was just lucky to not have any other broken bones. But he had had serious head trauma, so there wasn't really much hope. So sadly they did end up euthanizing him. It's obviously not the outcome I was hoping for, but given the circumstance, there's not more that could be done, to be honest. There's nothing else I could have done, there's nothing they could have done. If we had left him, it would have just been long and painful, so as disappointing as that was, in a sense we did manage to help him by at least having him somewhere comfortable and euthanizing him in a humane manner. Because obviously the vets dealt with the euthanization, so it's standard procedure. They don't really feel anything, they just fall asleep and don't wake up essentially. Now, as sad, as depressing as that was, I thought I'd share it with you guys because obviously it took up my lunch break and it cost maybe 20 quid, but I don't regret it in the slightest, because even though he was on his way out, and had I just left him under the canopy he would have, well, died anyway, it was still nice to try and help, so at least we gave him a chance, I suppose. I suppose it's a case of you can try as much as you can, but you can't help them all. Some of them are just, it's too little too late, I suppose. In other news, the turtle build is underway now. That has officially started, but I'm really eager to get the turtle video out, but I already had to put it on hold. So I started the build and I've already paused it. I haven't done anything for it for about 5 days now, and that's not laziness. I have stopped working overtime at work, so I have more time to spend here. But where there's death, there's also life, as cringy as that sounds. So this week there's been a bit of an emergency. Again, not with any of the SGN residents. And I've had to build I've been spending my time building a last minute enclosure for a new guest. So you will hear more about that next weekend, and I'll introduce you to them. Hopefully it all goes well. But other than that, everyone's doing well. The geckos are eating, the roaches are breeding, and I've come across a massive variety of wildlife at work. There's been so many weird and wonderful animals just coming across. So there's definitely a lot more of exciting, I suppose, interactions and footage that I'd love to show you guys, so that will be coming soon. Other than that, it's just a quick little update. Next week will be a much more substantial video, and otherwise I hope you have a good week. Another bit of bad news is it's not the end of October yet and we've already got Christmas trees in at work and a lot of Christmas products, and it's feeling far too early because it hasn't been Halloween yet, but hey ho.